Hello there and welcome to part 2 where we're looking at the success of Netflix through the use of enterprise and innovation. Now, if we're going to evaluate and really dig deep into the success of an organization, well, we have to look at both sides of an argument. So we've got to look at some of the drawbacks, challenges, setbacks and failures that Netflix have had as well. So we can't have a balanced argument if we only look at one side of it. So this session here is going to have a look at the things that Netflix have maybe struggled with, and there's been a few challenges and problems for them along the way. So let's get stuck in, shall we? So when it comes to their least successful shows, a lot of this, the research that you'll find online, is that a lot of it is subjective and opinion based. So when you have a quick Google for this, you'll find reviews from websites like Goliath and Reddit and IMDb, and people have given their own opinions. And obviously there's some that score fewer, in general. There's some that on IMDb who are particularly low rated, but that's all people's opinions and things. It's hard to find the viewing figures for them and how many people watched or didn't. So we do need to rely on these review sites for this. So if you have a look for that, and once again, all the references and sources that we're talking about today in this video here will be linked to in a document in the description of this video as well. So do have a look at some of the links in there, but also you can kind of form your own opinion and see if you can find particular trends when it comes to the shows that people have reviewed poorly or have been pulled after a couple of seasons as well, when it comes to their least successful shows. So what setbacks have Netflix have? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, they've been rare. The figures that you can see here, again, taken from the Forbes and Statista websites, linked to in the document below. There was a period in 2019 when the number of new subscribers dropped massively worldwide, and also they actually lost subscribers in America, lost 113,000, I believe was the exact figure. So there have been times when Netflix have struggled, but if we talk now about losing 113,000 subscribers, yeah, but now they have over 203 million. So it's really a case of putting those in perspective and thinking, well, that was a year or two ago. It's pre-global pandemic, and it's pre some of the newer technologies that have come online. So you've got to look at setbacks, not so much with a pinch of salt, but certainly in the grand scheme of things. Have there been any legal issues for Netflix? Well, yes, there have, and you'll find quite a few of these. Again, there's some great links in the document in the description below this video. So they've had issues with equal pay. For example, The Crown, the lead actor in that, Claire Foy, who plays the Queen in a show called The Crown about the monarchy, she was actually paid less than Matt Smith, the main male star in it. And obviously Matt Smith has his reputation as Doctor Who, but in terms of being the main star of a show, it's hard to argue why the female lead shouldn't be paid the same as, if not more than, if the role is more important than the male characters. The documentary Cuties, again, came under fire for child exploitation and sexualization of teenagers in the way that it was portrayed and the posters and the promotional material created for it. We've got actor accusations. Kevin Spacey, obviously well known in terms of accusations, and House of Cards being one of Netflix's biggest shows. But again, losing its main star. And then the content controversy of 13 Reasons Why, where they were accused of glossing over such key themes as teen mental health and depression and suicide, and some of the harrowing scenes within that and how they were portrayed. So it's not all been plain sailing for Netflix. There have been legal issues for them, and these are just four that kind of sprung out to me as being some of the biggest ones. But again, a lot of these things are still talked about for a variety of other media companies as well. But for Netflix, certainly things that they've had to deal with when it comes to legal issues. Price increases, always something that gets people going a little bit, especially when they're higher than inflation, which Netflix's price increases are. So it's been announced in the last couple of weeks in January 2021 that price increases will be happening at Netflix. The standard monthly package going up and the premium monthly package increasing as well by way more than inflation there. And this normally makes the news. People normally get angry. People take to social media, but they don't necessarily, if you look at the subscriber figures, actually leave the service we are now accustomed to having Netflix, and the idea of paying a little bit more for it becomes quite acceptable when you think about what you're receiving. And they've also got to pay for the increased cost of content somewhere as well. So although these increases do happen, it doesn't necessarily mean less subscribers for them. Very few people will be leaving the service, and you'll be able to prove that when we look at subscriber figures in a few months' time. But what about working there? There's some really interesting articles, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here from a Wall Street Journal article from a few years back, and also from a book written by one of the co-founders of Netflix as well. And there's this perceived culture of fear working there, that fear is good for you, it pushes you, it helps you to grow. And you have to think, well, would I want to work in a place like that? Thing is, when we talk about all these negative aspects of working at Netflix, again, I'm paraphrasing from these articles. I'd never actually worked there. I'm just going on what I've read, which again, linked to in the description. Would you want to work somewhere that you're scared of what might happen, or would that drive you to perform better from that? We've also got, when we have a look here at something called the keeper test, and what this keeper test has been described as is that you would ask your manager, do they want to keep you? And your manager would then openly and honestly answer that question. Imagine if your manager says no, and then you might be removed from your job. And this performance culture that you have to perform, adequate employees are provided generous generous severance packages is, I think, one of the lines that's in one of their mottos, their culture motto. But if you are adequate, that's not good enough. You've got to be better than the best to be able to survive there. And they even have what's called post-mortem, so that when people leave, it's explained why that person was fired. And you know, when you read some of these articles, they're really quite intense. It's certainly not a place I'd like to work at based on those. As I say, I've never actually worked there, but certainly some of these reports stemming from that article do indicate that. And you have to think about, is that sustainable in the long term to be able to work and survive like that? However, do you get to be one of the most popular streaming services, if not the most popular in the world, if your employees aren't working hard? So you've got to look at kind of both sides of that, and the culture there obviously works to make that business successful. So do have a read around that, and be interesting to hear your opinions on it as well. And financial issues, well, not many at the moment, although they do have to be careful because they spend so much on content. So you see rising content costs there, and the billions and billions that they're spending. I think it was 19 billion in one of the previous years. Again, have a look at the sources and references on that. But when you're spending billions on content, and it costs more to make things, it costs more to buy the rights to past shows as well, then that's going to be quite an issue. However, the costs have been reduced during the global pandemic because Netflix haven't been able to produce or make anything of their own due to social distancing restrictions. So, you know, rising content costs, increased competition, Disney Plus coming online in the last couple of years, and Amazon Prime Video as well, really stepping up their game in terms of what they can offer. So increased competition there. And can you maintain that subscriber growth as we go kind of backwards through the information over here? Can you sustain the massive growth that they've had during a global pandemic? Probably not, because once people are able to go out and socialize again, then there's going to be less time spent in front of your TV at home. So the massive growth they've seen probably won't continue. So it's a matter of keeping those customers and getting value for money from them when it comes to the shows that they will provide for them. So it hasn't been all plain sailing for Netflix. There have been obstacles along the way, and it is important to look at both sides of an argument when you look at success, to also look at, okay, well, mate, what hasn't gone as swimmingly as they might have liked it to in the past few decades with Netflix. So I hope that's been useful for you as we get stuck into looking at the success of Netflix using enterprise and innovation. Please feel free to say hi. If you've got any comments, questions, or anything about these videos, then please find me on these social media channels, and you'll be able to find some more information here as well. So thanks very much. Appreciate you watching, and please like, share, and do all those things that people do, and we'll see you again sometime. Thank you. Bye-bye.